You know it. What? You tell the story. What? You tell the whole damn world this is bear territory.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
All day, baby.
Welcome to Tell the Whole Damn World. We're the podcast for Golden Bear fans who love the University of California. If you're like us and are unabashedly and unapologetically all about Cal, you found the right place. We celebrate all things Cal and hope to make you feel more connected to this wonderful university that has given all of us so much. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's Monday, June 2nd, 2025. I'm your host, Reza Serafinejad, and it's another great day to be a Bear. In today's episode, Ahmad Anderson and I are thrilled to sit down with one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play at Cal, Geoff McArthur. He's got some great stories about his time playing at Cal, and we'll learn how his mindset has helped him overcome some medical challenges later in life that would have overwhelmed many others. Before we get to the interview, can you take a moment to help tell the whole damn world about us? Tell all your Cal friends. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please share tellthewholedamnworld.com on your social media. Speaking on behalf of all of us here, including Ahmad and Leslie, thank you so much for listening and watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Okay, I'll be right back with my co-host, Cal legend Ahmad Anderson, and together we'll sit down with one of the best football players to ever play at Cal, Hall of Fame wide receiver Geoff McArthur. This is going to be a fun one. What can I tell you about Geoff McArthur? He's an All-American and Cal legend as one of the greatest wide receivers in Cal history. And sure, football is a big part of his story, but there's a lot more to him than that. As you'll learn through our conversation, he's an inspiration and a true testament to resilience. I'm going to quickly run down a list of some of his accomplishments on the field. He came to Cal after a sensational high school career at Palisades in Los Angeles, where as a senior he had the most receiving yards in the country. As a player at Cal, he holds the all-time record for receiving yards in a career with an incredible 3,188. That's nearly 32 times up and down the length of the field. And he shares the record for the most 100-yard receiving games in Cal history with 11. He's second in the Cal history books with 202 career receptions. And in 2003, in particular, he had a monster season, racking up 85 receptions for 1,504 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's the most receiving yards ever at Cal in a single season. And if you do the math on that, he averaged an astonishing 17.7 yards per catch that season, proving to be pretty darn elusive and difficult to tackle after making the catch. He's the definition of someone who left it all on the field. But his story didn't end with a final whistle. Guided by his faith, Geoff's journey has taken him from the heights of athletic stardom to the deep work of personal growth, mentorship, and community leadership. He's someone who knows what it means to fight through injury and setbacks, redefine his identity, and to keep showing up with heart. He's currently the director of activities for St. John Bosco High. And as you might suspect, considering his love for football, he's also the wide receiver coach for the top-ranked Braves. He was inducted into the Cal Hall of Fame in 2018. And personally speaking, he's one of my favorite Cal players of all time. We couldn't be more honored to have him with us today. Welcome to the show, Geoff. We appreciate you making the time.
I really appreciate it. That was a very warm welcome, Reza. Appreciate you guys for having me on the show. I've been watching you guys as you guys have continued to produce really good content, and just excited to join you guys.
Hey, thank you so much, brother.
Glad to have
Appreciate
you.
that. Yeah.
Right on.
I'm going to just start right off. And, you know, most people associate you with Jeff Tedford because of all the success the team had under him. But you actually came to Cal when Tom Homo was the head coach. What made you decide to come to Cal over other schools coming out of high school in the Los Angeles area?
Well, that's an interesting question. And I was coming out in 99, 2000 was about the year. And Cal was not very good in football, but I recognized that Cal logo more than a USC logo, more than UCLA logo, because it was the state. To me, it just stood for the state. So as the recruiting process was happening, I committed to Oregon State originally to play safety. While I was leading the country in yards as a wide receiver, I also had like 83 tackles, I think 3 interceptions, and a couple forced fumbles. So I was really a top prospect at safety too. And but after Oregon State won the Fiesta Bowl, they wanted me to redshirt, and I didn't really know what that meant. But it didn't sound like they wanted me really. And Cal was like, "You don't have to redshirt. You could come here and compete for playing time early on offense." And I think I just had a feeling that you would get in the newspaper more for catching touchdowns and making tackles. I think I wanted to be in the limelight a little bit, so I wanted to play receiver.
Sure. No, I mean, I was just, my hat's off to you for, I think I still remember back when you originally signed with Cal and I was reading your bio and I was like, wow, we got this guy? Because, I mean, you just sounded sensational. I was like, that was incredible. And, Tom Homo could recruit. He got some really good players back in the day for sure.
You know what? There was a story with that. And so at the time, I'm leading the country, and Cal sends a letter mid-season that said they were going to discontinue my recruiting process. And I went up to my coach at the time, Steve Clarkson, who's like known as a quarterback guru, one of the top coaches across the country. And I go, "Coach, I like Cal. I don't know what this is about." And he said, "You really like Cal?" I said, "Yep." He gave one of the coaches a call. And the next day, I want to say Steve Hagan was down at our practice, and they offered me a scholarship in person. Yeah. So they almost severed the relationship unknowingly, just from a clerical error.
Whoa. Wow. Man, that would have changed things dramatically for our fortunes. I'm glad they got that right finally, thanks to you being the squeaky wheel and saying, "Hey, what's this all about?" Wow.
Yeah, shout out Steve Clarkson, too, for having the ability to pick up a phone during those times. I mean, a lot of people didn't have cell phones for coaches. This was an era where we were sending out VHS and things like that. So the fact that Steve had that relationship on the spot actually brought it to fruition a little quicker.
Well, hey, I want to talk a little bit about that year in 2003 when you just really burst onto the scene in a big way. And you had an absolutely incredible season. You were named an All-American, the 1,504 yards I talked about before receiving. Can you tell us about what your mindset was as a wide receiver that season and throughout your career? And why do you think everything clicked for you in particular that year?
There was a lot of intersections that were happening in my life. I mean, coming out of high school, I led the country in yards. I had high expectations for myself. As a freshman, I led the team in receiving yards at Cal, but wasn't quite satisfied with the production. 2002, my sophomore year, I had 30 catches in the first 4 games, and I was second in the Pac-10 in receiving, only to finish with 36 catches that season. And there were some things that went on behind the scenes that led to that happening, and all which were for my benefit, which led me to want to pursue just kicking it up a notch. I wanted to take my standards and raise the bar. I think Coach Tedford helped me do that by the threats of having a DB replace me at receiver. That definitely gave me a little kick in the butt to get a little bit more just produce more and push myself. So every drill, I find myself looking up and Tedford would be watching. And I finally got pissed off one day and I was like, I'm just going to go so hard that this guy's I'm either going to die or he's going to get off my back. And neither one of them died. He never got off my back. I didn't die, but I became All-American. And it was just from just pushing myself, never being satisfied, and also having a coach push me too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you sound like a super competitive guy. And from what I understand that season, I think you injured your arm, right? You broke your arm or something. I mean, we don't have to get into that if that's something you don't want to.
No, everything's on the table. If it's all bare, this is family business. So we can talk about it here. So yeah, I broke my arm at the end of that season, and it was the culmination of a great season. I wanted to participate in the bowl game. We were in Arizona, and Aaron Rodgers, he threw a dart. It was on air. Nobody touched me, and the ball hit my hand at the same time that my knee was bending. Everything hit my forearm, and then my arm broke. And, it was unfortunate, but maybe a blessing. I don't know. I might have went to the NFL after that game if I did well. Who knows?
Wow. No, I didn't know that story.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned, Geoff,
how you even got to Cal. And if you've listened to these podcasts, whether you're a student athlete or not, or you've heard some student athletes talk about how it hasn't just been a paved road. There have been challenges and adversity. That self-awareness is something that comes, I believe, through, as Clint Eastwood says, a man has to know his limitations. And the only way you get there is by challenging yourself. Challenge yourself when times are dingy on your sleeve. And yet, in your world, like mine, having played at Cal, you have the opportunities, they'd say, and they've said this, well, we had the opportunity to play with Geoff McArthur. And those people are Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch. Do you have any great stories or a few stories you'd like to share as we're talking about family business about playing with those two individuals?
Yeah, I'll start with Aaron. Aaron Rodgers, when you first meet him, you don't know he's Aaron Rodgers. You think he's just, another guy coming through the program. He's not gonna wow you when you see him. So I remember the first time I met him, I'm going, so, this is the guy that they're saying he's gonna replace Kyle Bowler and give Reggie Robertson a run for his money. And so he's unassuming in a sense, because he doesn't look like the 6'4" guy that was just throwing the ball, got drafted in the first round. But the more I was around him, the more I realized he was secretly competing with all of us. He was competing with everybody, but he was doing it with a smile, and you didn't know. But he wanted to beat you in everything. So we would play ping pong, and he'd play you. You'd think it was a casual game, and then all of a sudden he'd just start working these shots, and then you're playing NCAA football on the PlayStation or Xbox, and he's just casually like whooping you, and you think like, okay, I'm gonna snap into it now because like, oh, he's lulled me to sleep. He's not. He's just better than you, and it just starts off as like that. So that was the one thing I said about Aaron is I just love how he competed in everything, but you never knew it because he was having fun. So for him, competition was a life. It was a way of life. It wasn't so serious that he needed to make it to where he had to beat you. He was just enjoying being competitive. And I think that was one of the lessons I learned from him is that he had an internal thing going on, a different kind of game going on outside of the one we saw externally. We saw there was something going on inside of him and made it special.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick before you get to the next one. Someone just said to me today, and he went out I didn't tell him what I said, I played football, blah, blah. I didn't want to get into all that. Sometimes you just want to keep the conversation moving. And he said he learned something from the coach's aspect of life. He said, the coach said, today we put in the work. Tomorrow it will be a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference between I'm just someone on the team and they say, there goes someone on that team, because that becomes a habit and a way of life.
Yeah, well said. Well said. The second one, you want to do the Marshawn one?
Yeah, go right into it, babe.
Okay, so I was with Marshawn recently, in the past like week or so, and even prior to that, we were at this get together when we had the 2004 team get back together for that reunion.
Yeah.
And the more I started reflecting on every experience I've had with Marshawn Lynch, I noticed that he has a private relationship with every single teammate that you know nothing about. With every single one, he has a special bond. And if you watch him long enough, you will see him carve out moments. If he's at an event, activity, or something with all the friends, and I'm sure it's in the same way in the NFL too. But it's almost as if he's taken inventory and audit of all the people that he's been union with, and it matters to him. And he knows the people that I would think he would never know. He knows the stories that I would think he would never remember. And there's something very special about that. With him being, I think bigger than life at times. He seems like one of those characters that's just like everyone knows him, but honestly, I think it's the reverse. I think he knows everyone. And I don't think a lot of people really do know him. And it was just really special to see that recently, and see that over time, he literally has a very, very special bond with the people that are in his life. And if he's ever shared space with you, he's made you aware that you exist during that time.
Yeah. That's
And
spot
that's
on.
what makes these guys Cal guys. These are Cal guys. Like
Yeah.
it's really unique. And I consider myself a Cal guy, but it's just really unique the types of bears we have, all different walks of life, but you can tell a Cal guy by these different but similar stories.
Yep. It's 100% true. I mean, that's the same with the 82 team. We're on a thread in a text message where I'll tell you that it goes on and on and on and on. And you're like, and they're talking to everybody on there, and somebody will pop up and say, blah, 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 blah. Do you remember this? And everybody will start, LOL. That's where you went? This is where you were? And you'll remember that moment in time right now. I saw that when we were up at the University Club, when you all were hanging out there, and we're watching the Stanford game as it's getting ready to unfold right before our eyes. And all of a sudden, bam, it changed. But each one of you were connected, and it seemed every Cal football player there, we knew what was going to happen. We knew what was going to happen, and you could see people. It was the excitement. It was the welling up of joy, tears, and bang. And it's a special thing to be a Cal Bear.
No doubt.
No question about that. Well, I have my little 2 cents to just add in on that with Aaron and Marshawn. I still remember vividly the very first time I met Aaron, and I was a volunteer behind the scenes with Cal Athletic Communications, and they sent me in to pull him for a media interview. He just had his first big game as a quarterback, and I go into the locker room. Everyone's hooting and hollering and dancing, and music's blaring and everything, and Aaron's just sitting there, just like kind of looking off into space, a little smile on his face, but he was by himself, just like, wasn't doing anything. He's very unassuming, kind of like you say, right? And I went and grabbed him and talked to him and helped coach him through that first interview. And boy, I mean, it's like, take a look. He could just make magic on the field for sure. And then with Marshawn, Marshawn always struck me. He is a very private person. Like, if he doesn't necessarily trust everybody. It's like, hey, what do you want from me? But the big thing that I was always impressed with was that he wanted the spotlight to be on his teammates. He didn't really want the limelight. He's like, hey, you know what? It's about my other guys. And Justin Forsett, who backed him up and then became a big-time star on his own. He always gave so much love to him. And anyways, just awesome how genuine he is as a person. So, but anyway, you guys, all of you guys there in 2003, 2004, just love those memories that you gave all of us as Cal fans. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask, all of us Cal fans, of course, have our own opinions of this. Was there one game in particular that you still vividly remember that stands out to you?
The Coliseum 04 USC game. Them being number 1 in the country, us being number 7 in the country. There's so many ways. Where do you start? It was game day. I'm from LA, so that's my backyard. I have a lot of pride going into that. And we were a better team. Lee Corso said it. Everybody said it. And to not come away with the W, it sucked. It just sucked. That was the one that you'll never get back. The one that slipped away. And then what could have been? Who knows what could have been after that for Cal? Who knows what could have been for USC after that? That could have been the end of a chapter and the beginning of some new era that we would never know about, maybe in a parallel universe or something. I know you got an astrology background, Reza, so maybe you can tell us if that's possible. Is that possible that we had a great
Absolutely. Well, you guys outgained them almost by double or something. It was kind of crazy. You guys marched up and down the field.
200 to 400 difference. And
yeah. Well, hey, I was going to say, that game, of course, does definitely stand out. And hey, obviously it would have been nice to have won it, but you guys played amazing in that game. But I still vividly remember the 2003 big game where you, in particular, went off. 16 receptions, 245 receiving yards. Those are big game records. Can you imagine? How did you do that? That's huge.
You want to know the truth? I'm going to give you the honest to God truth. And I wrote about this a little bit. I journal quite a bit. And the truth of the matter is this, is that the things that we accomplish and do, for the most part, I would say, as an individual can only take you so far. But when you have family, friends, loved ones, the encouragement, the dependence on when it's for something bigger than yourself, you can accomplish so many great things.
That's right.
And so there was a teammate during that game. I had 100 and some yards in the first half, close to 10 catches. My ankle was messed up. I got an injection to play just to get through it. And I was done at halftime. Nobody knows this. I've never even told this story to anybody really. But I was done at halftime. And a player at the time that I was not like fond of necessarily, let's say we weren't buddy. He wasn't my favorite at the time. And we all got that in family. Families have feuds.
We do.
And so this person, he touched my shoulder and I moved a little bit, and he says, I don't know if you're going back out there, man. I don't know how your body is feeling, but we need you. And I just side-eyed and I just kind of rolled my eyes, whatever. And it took less than a minute for me to grab my helmet, buckle up, and go back out there and have the biggest game in Cal history. Would not have happened for personal gain. I was done. But when your family and friends need you, they depend on you and you love them, they love you, you'll do things that you'll go the extra mile.
Oh, yeah.
That's
real
beautiful.
talk about those guys, some guys we play with. You had me flash, and I flash on it every now and then. I'll say to somebody, give an example. There was a guy, and I will lead them right down that path, and I'll think, I remember running onto the field, and this guy, he had been my guy for a while, but he refused to go out on a play. Refused to go out on a play. And so, in the last season where we saw that take place of a football player not going out on the play and walking to the locker room, I flashed on that. But that made me step up my game even more to be sure that folks recognize what true leadership looks like, right? Yep. Not about you, it's way past you. But that's a great example because folks don't know there's always a backstory to the story. You look at teams and their abilities and when they do well and when they don't do well. And those are stories that are kept amongst family, if you will. But at the end of the day, everybody knows that they've been able to look themselves in the mirror and say, was that you? And you say, no, it wasn't. I was there. I was there. That's real talk. I'm going to hit you with this one. What lessons, and we talked about, this is a great segue. What lessons from your playing days, and now you're a coach, you're director activities. And so what are those kind of things, those plays, those experiences that you've had that you've been able to transform into life lessons that make it transformative for those individuals who you've coached and you have been the teacher of and your role model? Share some of those experiences.
Absolutely. The first one I would start with is God blessed me with a lot of talent and abilities and gifts. And I believe that all of us have different talents and abilities and gifts in different ways. Mine were physical, and some of them were a mindset of a competitive nature and edge. And but I think growing up, I didn't understand how I acquired my gifts. So there was a lot of trial and error as to like how to activate them. I didn't even know what I was doing. And so, the saying that luck happens when preparation meets opportunity, the All-American season was the culmination of that lesson of actually preparing for something and going hard and building up something that led towards an outcome and an output. So that was the first lesson I learned about actually purposely going for something and then not knowing when it was going to come, but just being ready for that moment. And when it came, I was ready. So I would just say, that was the first big one is luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. The second big lesson that I got was it was about having your motivation come from external sources and how dangerous that is because that can have your process going up and down. So if your motivations are coming from outside of yourself, you're going to be really upset when the expectations don't come to fruition. So I learned about trying to find what would happen and who would I become when I make a choice versus saying, what will I get when I make a choice? And that's a very deep lesson. I didn't go to the NFL. And the reason I didn't go to the NFL early on, I could have went and just took the money. And I could have told people that I was going to be fine and my knee was fine and all that stuff. But who would I become making a decision like that by not doing something from integrity, but doing something for a short external outcome, which would have given us money, and my family probably would have had we could have got accustomed to a lifestyle that we wouldn't have been able to keep. And it could have been something that was harder or worse for us in the end. So it's one of those things where, again, I made a decision because I wanted to become the person that I was going to be, not attached to an athletic lifestyle that was short-lived. And I hope that message is clear. It's not about what you get when you choose option A or option B. It's about who you become when you choose option A or option B. And then the last lesson I would say, what you go after here on this earth is, none of the physical things you acquire physically, you can't really keep them. And I'll just leave it with that. You can't keep anything you acquire physically. So I want to go after the things that cannot be purchased, cannot be bought. I want to develop, and that's going to come through a lot of ups, downs, lefts, rights. And so it's just, to be honest, the biggest lesson I learned through all of it was just being grateful for life and the opportunity to have it. Anything that comes with that is bonus, whether it's good or bad, because life, nothing trumps life. And it's just the most beautiful experience in the world. So,
Amen, Doc. I think what you said is something I live by. I've always been raised, and it has come into my ups and downs of life that, like watching, Let's Make a Deal or whatever, The Price is Right. They said you have choice A, door number 1, door number 3. But what I have found through my experience in life, a lot of that being developed through being at Cal, being associated with those individuals who didn't even play a sport at Cal that I got to know and was able to meet. That I've learned that having gone to Cal has afforded me to be able to look through life at different lenses, not about choices, but the options that are available to me.
Amen.
The options. And I said, so you always want to be able to have options. So when somebody says, well, you either have A, B, or C, you say, I'm good. I don't want any of those, because I'm going to take it to another level, because that's what's going to make me bloom to be that person that I'm supposed to be. Not what everybody expects of me, but who I come into my true fruition. And you've hit it on the nail, and it's so refreshing to hear that from those other bears that come up after me, or even those who were before me, who say the same things, who've never crossed paths in life, but they've been in the same valleys and they've been on the same mountaintops, and that's real talk. And I've got to say to you, because I've experienced that in different ways of my life, with my father, and then my mother, and then recently my lady over the past couple of years, is being able to look at life differently and being there for somebody. Your experience in your journey overcoming cancer, and how all that you've shared with us right now, how has that brought you through, and what can you share to others as you've gone through those life-changing events and where you're standing on this earth today?
Yeah, that was that. Let me see, the cancer journey. I wrote it down. I had to write this one. I wrote about cancer was and is the best challenge I've ever had. It's just the best one. And there is no game outside of you. And the longer you think that, the longer you go on that, the further away from yourself you are. This is a you versus you platform. Earth is really golf. You know, it's like you versus you out there. You might be going with a group of people, but you got to decide what club you're going to use. You got to decide all of it, and nothing else matters. And so the cancer journey was the first thing to snap me out of not going to the NFL. Ever since I had declined to go to the combine, they only invite 300 people. Ever since I declined the Shrine Game and told 16 teams not to draft me, I had a cloud hanging over my head, and I felt obligated to take care of my family in a certain way based on that experience. I felt obligated to uphold a certain lifestyle, or I was supposed to be living a certain lifestyle based on those decisions. And cancer was the first thing that knocked me off of that illusion or delusion. And so I was grateful for that, because I would have probably been still thinking that it was my job to save the world. So coming from an athlete who's always been able to do my will, cancer was so humbling, because I couldn't do any of my will. I used to lay in the bed, and there were times where I couldn't look at my phone longer than 5 minutes. I didn't have the energy. So I learned how to respect my body and listen to my body instead of do my own will. And that was opposite of what I've been doing my entire life. You go first 40 years, my will, force it, bang it in there, athlete, I'm a hammer, everything's a nail. And so after cancer, you start putting all the tools down, and you just hope that you just have enough to get through the day. And now you're going in the opposite direction of listening more than talking, and resting more than doing. And so it taught me processes. I had skipped a lot of processes by being gifted.
Yeah.
And yeah, it taught me processes. And when you respect the process, it's kind of like when you know what it takes to buy a car versus getting one when you're 18 and you just get the car. Yeah. You don't know what it took to get that car. You're gonna wreck it.
Here's the keys.
Yeah. No, boom, like no sense of what it took to get that car versus if you actually had to work at McDonald's and do the whole minimum wage up to a certain part saving.
Come on.
You would have a different appreciation for that car, no matter what it looked like. You would love it differently if you earned it. So it was a lot of that. A lot of health things that I had never paid attention to. I could eat McDonald's all day, every day, and nothing would happen. And now I couldn't, I literally had all the things that were afforded to me, and they weren't afforded. I just thought they were, but I was on borrowed time. But all the things, the lifestyle that I was living, I had to correct. And so you don't get away with anything here on earth. And I had to change a lot of, first, before any physical change, I had to change my mind on what I thought life was, what this experience was. I was no longer a victim. I let go of all low vibrational energies. I forgave everybody that I thought ever did something wrong to me.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything wrong to me. Like, they're fine. I took nothing personally anymore, because I realized that everybody's internal projection was their own internal projection.
Man.
It didn't have anything to do with me. And I gave them mercy, grace. I loved people that were, they didn't look lovable. They didn't look lovable, but they were still lovable. And I found
Come on now.
how to love them, because I saw that unlovable side. I had been them before.
That's right.
So I loved them. And that's the definition of love. This philosophy I started studying, which I could tell you more about later. It's called the Vedanta, but the definition of love in the philosophy I study is seeing no otherness. That's what unconditional is. It's because when you're upset, I see myself in you. I've been upset. So I give you grace and mercy, because you're not defined by that moment. That's not a defining personality. That is a moment, like a cloud that passes. And the clouds you can see the cloud, they're well formed, but they pass and they disintegrate. That's what our emotions and our feelings do. Give people a break. Don't take it personal. And if you do take it personal, it's because you don't know yourself.
That's right.
Man, I gotta say, Geoff, I mean, that is so deep. I mean, it's so impressive to see your evolution. And, I know you've been very transparent with everything that you've posted on social media. And I mean, heck, you didn't know me, and I reached out, was a big fan, and you accepted my friend. Then I've just followed your story, and it was just so inspiring. And the way that you've approached all of this and your mindset and all the things that you just talked about. I mean, you got to write a book, my man, because I think it could help a lot of other people out there. And I guess if you just had something that you could say or wanted to say to someone else who might be listening or watching who's going through their own fight with cancer, what would you want to tell them right now?
I discovered a strength in me. I thought I was strong because of football and sports and all the weights we lifted and all that stuff. There's an opportunity to discover yourself and to find out that you have immeasurable strength. If you're battling cancer right now, if you're with somebody who's going through cancer right now, there's a great opportunity to discover the truth about this experience. And it does have an ending. But endings also signify beginnings. And so there will be something after this, because it's always been something. And we know about energy, you know about energy. It doesn't die. So anybody that's losing faith on this process, just understand that once you got life, it came with death too, and that's okay. But most importantly is not to focus on that. You just focus on how you live, not what's going to happen. We're all going to meet the same end. But you got now, most people don't know when that day is coming. And if you think you're going to die, that's a gift too, because it brings you closer to actually being present in the moment and not having this idea of tomorrow. Every day people go to sleep and they say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow. Or I heard a guy, he was like, I probably have 25 Christmases. And I was like, says who?
Yeah.
How can you talk like this so boldly to say, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow? Or do you have a genie that's telling you that for sure we got this tomorrow? Because it doesn't exist. And so I would just say that if you have this opportunity in front of you, you have the opportunity to discover truth, which a lot of people avoid until it's time to go. And now what are you going to do with the truth you discovered? It's just bringing to a reality that we all have to face. And it's a gift, because most people have an illusion that there's tomorrows.
Look, my dad wrote a book. He wrote 2 books. The first book he wrote was Life After Death, and how folks were so caught up to doing all these things in order to, quote, get to heaven, right? Life after death. He was a minister. But then the next book, it was something that later, and he's passed away, but it was like something that triggered in me again to think about those books was when Biggie talked about how he was first rapping and his raps were about not having money. And then he said, now that he's had the money, he had to think about it differently, because he wasn't thinking about when he got the money, what that would be, but he was always speaking from a place of not having it. And so those statements by Biggie made me think about my dad's next book, which he wrote later, was not thinking about life after death, but life after birth. And when you listen to Morgan Freeman talk about get busy living or get busy dying, it's about get busy living and being here in the moment and making every second of that moment the moment of your life.
Yeah,
life isn't promised to you.
No.
It isn't promised to you.
I'll say this too, just to add, I've had more quality days post-cancer than pre-cancer. I've had more quality experiences, because those experiences that I was having, I wasn't present.
Yeah.
I was chasing something. I was going after something. There was something more. I mean, a short story about how far away from present I was. When I was at Cal, I had an 80-yard touchdown against UCLA. Me and my girlfriend at the time, she was like, you're about to be on ESPN. She queued it up. I sat down. They played it on ESPN, and Chris Berman said, rumbling, stumbling, bumbling, look at him go. And I got upset, and I said, turn the TV off. And I was so upset that my knees weren't lifting up high enough. I looked slow on the 80-yard touchdown. I was not present. And that's just an example of like how we're chasing so many different things. And sometimes a reality check is a good thing for us, because it's literally, I've had a better life since.
It can save your life.
It can save your life. It can save your life.
100%.
It can save your life. It can empower you. I mean, like there's so many different directions to go, but a lot of it depends on you.
Well, everything you're saying here reminds me of what Jack Clark has as his motto for the rugby program, which is grateful for everything, entitled to nothing. So it's like, that's it. Just like if you adopt that mindset, it's amazing how everything in life just changes for you. It's very powerful.
We
But no,
call that
thank
in the
you.
philosophy I study, we call that radical gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing we're saying the same thing as Jack and the rugby team. Those guys are awesome. So if it's giving them that much success and I just started adopting this, I got faith I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah.
No, well, that is beautiful. All the stuff you've laid on us here, Geoff. And I guess I just wanted to ask because I know you're big into coaching, and you've been a coach now for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching and who have been your inspirations there?
Yeah, I mean, immediately once I stopped playing football at Cal, I got with the school out in Richmond, California, through a buddy of mine, one of my good friends, James Brignac, Junior Brignac. He played for Cal football, played for the Atlanta Braves for a little bit. So James, he had an after-school program going, and immediately once I knew my knee was in jeopardy, I started connecting with high school kids in lower different economic situations, people that look like me. And just jumped right in there. Didn't know anybody really from Richmond, but I was right there right there with the Kennedy Eagles. And I was offensive coordinator there. And I really connected with kids because I think that's where, life is about. To me, it's like having people go through experiences, see things, and then tell you like it's good to go that way, but don't go that way. And then we kind of continue to connect. And so my job now is to pass the baton. I took the athletic part as far as I could. I have some information I can share. So I naturally started giving it back to the youth in different cities and trying to give them that scholarship opportunity because it changed my life. And I've coached I was in, as of recent, St. John Bosco. Before that, I was at St. Monica Catholic. I was a head coach there in Santa Monica. Coached at El Camino College, community college out in Torrance. And I actually owned and operated an all-boys school, a private boarding school in Canada called Canada Prep Academy. So from that school, I've actually had 85% of my graduating seniors for 6 years get scholarships to universities, and produced the first Army All-American, a kid named Neville Gallimore. That wasn't the first Army All-American that wasn't from America. And we also he was one of the first Nike Spark opening kids from another country as well.
That's
So
awesome.
I've
That's
been
awesome.
dealing with high school kids my entire career since Cal.
Well, being a guy from Richmond, I want to say thank you very much. I live at 49th and Cutting, right down the street from Kennedy High.
Yeah,
So I appreciate you, and I remember you being there. And someone said, "Did you know?" And I said, "I am fully aware." Well, all my Cal guys are at all times. Well, why don't you come on down there? I said, "This is his moment. This is him building himself. I know he's there, and I'm really thankful for the work you put in there, man."
Hey, man, no doubt. Thank you.
I know you still follow Cal football very closely. I think you come up for the spring game every year and all that too. And just with all the changes and everything is going on, I have to ask, what are your thoughts on the upcoming season?
I always have, it's almost blind optimism.
Love it.
It's laughable at times, but I always believe in the coaches. I believe in the recruiting coordinators, everybody doing their job. And obviously we're in a new playing field. It don't look great at times, especially when you lose most of your players on offense. But again, this is a carousel and there's a lot of free agency. So that creates opportunities. Yes, we lost some of our best players on offense and we will have to rebuild and regenerate a new team. But that's regular for these kids now. That's normal for these kids now. So while we're fighting all of these as irregularly as something that's not normal, the kids and the coaches have adapted to it. So I have faith that we will be fine. I have faith that our brand will attract the right type of kid. It's a special kind of kid, and I think we need to connect to what that is in this new playing field. And I think that we have some really good quarterbacks in the room right now, and I think that will attract the skill guys that we need. And I'm just praying that, really it's just going to take a lot of faith and commitment and discipline. And the usual, it's blue collar, man. It is what it is. It probably won't be pretty, but where there's a will, there's a way. We got some money in the program. Hopefully we're spending it wisely.
Well, I love what you're saying. I mean, just about the optimistic part. I mean, like, I've always characterized myself as being relentlessly optimistic. I'm thinking big things, and I might set myself up for a little heartache every now and then. But you know what? That's no way to live if you have low expectations. You should always, set your expectations high.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
I was on a 1-10. I was on a 1-10 team at Cal that went 10-1. I think different.
There you go. There you go.
You don't have to tell me. Prior to that 82, I went from a 79 walk-on, freshman, starter, getting to the Garden State Bowl. The number one defensive backfield in the country with the fewest touchdowns in the air against us. That was my freshman year. Go to Garden State Bowl, we get beat, but I was feeling great. All those things, right? 2-9, 3-8, 3-8, 2-9. That 80 and 81 season, it is a blur. Only because I can remember everything that took place that season. I can remember every missed tackle, every touchdown scored. I could sit here all day and give that. 1982 was a different world. We walked out on every game, like you're saying, Geoff. We're going to win. We're going to win. And when we didn't win, losing was more painful than the joy of winning. So that 4 seconds, that 4 seconds was that moment in time, but it took 4 years for it to bring that team together with that group of folks to make it pop the way it is. And that has carried me even further in life to check myself, to look deep into myself when life's got my back up against the wall, and know that it ain't over. It ain't over. As long as you said, like you said, as long as you're breathing and you can see it and you can hear it and you can feel it, you got every opportunity to make a difference.
That's right.
Well, hey, I got 2 more questions for you before Ahmad hits you with bear territory, but all the Cal fans out there would be upset with me, I'm sure, if I didn't ask you for your thoughts on the 2004 season that should have ended in the Rose Bowl, but because of the political shenanigans or whatever the heck went on behind the scenes, how that didn't transpire, but just asking for your general thoughts on that.
We got hosed, dude. Like we got hosed. It just sucks. It's like one of those things, and you can kind of see it coming as soon as they leave it in the hands of, like, if it's a popularity contest, we will never get involved. We'll never get involved. So these kind of things, it's like you win, you might get complacent. You lose, it gives you something to keep fighting for. I guess we fighting. We just gonna keep fighting. We're just gonna be pissed off. Yeah, we just gonna stay pissed off and keep fighting.
That's right.
The Bears never quit. The Bears never die.
There you go. But it sucks.
It does.
You're right there with us.
Dude, look, that 82 game, we handle Elway. Gail Gilbert plays a much better game. We're wearing them down. 7-4, greatest game ever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting home watching all the bowl games, and I'm thinking and hearing people, they said, well, we should have taken Elway in their team and forget Cal, because Cal, I'm like, yeah. But when that day comes, and that day is coming, baby, I'm be eating popcorn in the 50-yard line like this. Yeah.
Right.
remember this right here. That's what you remember.
So that popcorn's going to taste amazing.
Man, come on, man. Right. Stop playing.
You talk about being present. We're going to be present.
For real.
Well, hey, we've been dancing around this for the whole episode here, but it's obvious that you have so much passion for Cal. And what would you say in your mind makes Cal such a special place?
You know, when you get there, it's a big school. It's a big university. The campus is large. You're with all the smartest people in the world, and there's nothing but you standing there amongst all of it, and you kind of have to like figure out how to swim on your own a little bit. So what I loved most was that it allowed me to find myself because it was a place that was full of free thinkers. So when you're surrounded around free thinkers, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself, because a lot of the things that I was used to coming from LA and attaching to, they weren't accessible in Berkeley. So I had to really identify who I was and what crowd that I want to fit in with, because the normal crowds that I was around, they weren't there. And you had to get a unique idea of what made you tick. So that's what made it special. I think those stories, the difficult stories, are why Cal people are a little bit different. We're built different. I think we're capable of surviving in different locations and different environments. And it's because none of it's easy. The walk around campus is hard. The parking is hard.
Yeah.
Like it's everything. It just seems to be the weather is like you're in California, but damn, it's still cold all the time. Like there's just like, there's something about it, but it builds character. So it's super unique because there's a bunch of people that are individually having the same experience.
Yeah,
that's right. That's pretty good. That's great stuff there, Geoff. Thank you.
Well, Geoff, you know, first of all, we really appreciate you being on our show today, because it is you all out there that make the history and set the pathway in which folks can either follow that path, but know that they don't just have choices, but they have options. But one question we ask everybody, whether before you came here, sort of like the story you told when you got the letter and talked to your coach, or while you were here, the experiences that you had, the people that you've met, you've spoken to, or life after, and that moment in your life, and you said, this is my bear territory moment. Share with us, and we know there's a lot, because you've done a lot, and you mean a lot to all of us. Share with us, what is your bear territory moment?
There's a lot to choose from, but you can never unsee the students, the Cal student section ripping down and carrying the goalposts down through front row. You'll never, it just was unreal because you watched it happen from start to finish. They jumped on and you were like, damn, they're really getting after that goalpost. All of a sudden it's hanging and you think they're going to stop, and they rip the whole thing out. And then it doesn't end there. No, in fact, it's like, no, let's take it with us. And the best part was, the police literally escorted them down the street to do it. And that night, you could probably get away with anything you wanted to that night, and nobody would say nothing as long as you just said, "Go Bears." And that was it, man. That's like nothing topped that one.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Awesome.
And that's real talk. Grant was on here the other day, and he said, and Marshawn said it when we gave him the award at the alumni house there, and he was showing his brand gear, and we had the fireside chat. No matter where you go in the world, and you see all this,
yeah,
Big C and Oski that, whatever, and you say, "Go Bears," those folks, they will manage to get back at you. Go Bears!
Oh, yeah.
They'll find a way.
Yeah.
I'm driving on the freeway and I see somebody at University of California, Berkeley. I'm trying to can I get next to them and give them a Go Bears?
Yeah, I'm on the highway. Kirk, my boy Kirk, we always do the bear sign right there.
That's right, baby.
I'm giving bear signs. I don't know if everybody else in the Cal community knows, but I'm giving it to them. I'm yelling out, "Go Bears" through windows, through car windows.
All day. And the thing about it is, like, and you know this to be out there in the world, that your families have become bears just because of that association. And to hear like my sons or my lady, all those folks, they'll see somebody there go, "Go Bears," and I'm looking like, is it really that infectious? And it is.
It is.
It is. Yeah. There's a bunch of bears in the bear cave, baby.
Yeah, there are.
Oh man, Geoff, I got to tell you, you're making my cheeks hurt from laughing and smiling too much here. And
Yeah.
I know we got to let you go, but man, it has been a pleasure and an honor to spend some time with you here today. And I can't say enough about you and how inspirational you are and everything that you've done on the football field for sure, and those fantastic memories. But the man that you've become today and how present you are. And I've learned so much from you, really. And I appreciate that so much, just following your journey. And I'm so grateful to you. And I got to say, thank you so much for choosing to come to Cal and setting all those records and everything you've done. And I just say, go Bears.
Go Bears, baby.
Go Bears. Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you, Reza. Reza, those words mean a lot to me, man. We'll talk a little bit after this, too, just to touch on those things. But I couldn't have chose a better university to go to. And I'll guarantee you for the rest of my life, I'll make sure to share that sentiment. Go Bears.
Geoff is such a great guy. We really enjoyed hearing his stories. And I'm certain I speak for every Cal fan out there when saying that those Golden Bear teams in the early years under Jeff Tedford were absolutely incredible. What a glorious time to be a Cal football fan. As you've heard me say before, this podcast is entirely a labor of love and a reflection of how much we love our university. Please take a quick moment to like and subscribe. That will really help us reach other like-minded Cal fans. And please help tell the whole damn world about us by sharing us with all your Cal friends. Simply share tellthewholedamnworld.com on the social media platform of your choice. You can also follow us on X, better known as Twitter, at Win4Cal. That's Win, the number 4, Cal. Be sure to catch our next Cal History episode when it drops on Friday. It's a special one where Leslie and I will talk all about the legendary Joe Roth. Although I never got to see him play, he was a phenomenal, talented quarterback who would have gone on to an incredible pro career had his life not been cut short by malignant melanoma. Beyond the football field, the way he approached life left an indelible mark on those around him, and there's a reason why his jersey number 12 is the only number ever to be retired by the Cal football team. Thank you so much for tuning in. We sincerely appreciate all of you out there listening and watching. See you Friday. This podcast is about celebrating all things Cal and the prominent people who are passionate about the University of California. Do you feel Cal is the center of the universe? Do you bleed blue and gold? We want you to tell the whole damn world about it. Go Bears!